So what if love wasn't just a feeling? What if it was a force so powerful it could literally create a whole new reality? I know, it sounds wild, but that's the incredible idea at the very heart of John Donne's classic poem, The Good Morrow. And today, we're going to dive into it and really explore this blueprint for building a world out of love. All right, so let's just jump right in with the big question, the one this whole poem is built around. Can true love actually create a new world? I'm talking about a world so complete, so all-encompassing, that the physical world, the one we're all in right now, just becomes irrelevant. Yeah, that's the absolutely incredible idea Donne wants us to get our heads around.
Okay, but to really get the inner world of these lovers, we first have to understand the outer world that John Donne was living in. See, this poem was written smack dab in the middle of the age of discovery. You've got explorers sailing off, finding new continents, mapping the globe. It was a huge deal. But while all that was happening, Donne was basically saying, that's cool, but what about this? He was proposing a totally different kind of exploration, one that happens right inside the four walls of a single room.
So let's get into the first part of the poem, and here the poet is looking back at his life before love. And for him, everything that came before, well, it wasn't really living. It was more like being in a long, deep, unconscious sleep. And the whole thing kicks off with this amazingly simple question. He's genuinely confused, looking back and thinking, what did we even do before we loved? It's like he's trying to remember a past that's just a blank. It's this idea that their real lives, their true lives, only kicked in the moment they fell for each other. So he just completely dismisses his entire past life by asking these three questions. He's like, were we just babies? Were we just chasing after silly, childish things? Or maybe, he wonders, were we asleep for centuries, like in that old legend of the seven sleepers? The actual answers don't really matter. The whole point is that any life he had before this love felt totally unconscious, like he wasn't really awake at all. And all of that leads to this incredibly powerful conclusion for the first part. He says that any beauty he ever saw or any desire he ever had and got, none of it was the real deal. It was all just a shadow, just a dream of thee. It's like every single past experience was just a dress rehearsal for this one true waking reality with his love. Okay, so if life before love was just a dream, then this next section is the moment they finally wake up. And this is where things get really interesting, because the poem takes a huge turn, and we see the lovers literally create a universe that's all their own. This line right here, this is the turning point. Good morrow is just an old way of saying good morning. But check this out. He's not saying good morning to their bodies. He's greeting their souls. He's saying that it's only now, because of their love, that their souls have truly woken up. For Donne, this isn't just a feeling. It's a deeply spiritual event. So remember those explorers we talked about? Well, Donne brings them back here to make a really bold point. While they're out there discovering oceans and mapping new countries, Donne basically says, let them have it. Let them have their worlds. Why? Because we have our own world right here. And their world, it's not made of land and sea. It's made of one room, two eyes, one heart. And this is probably the most famous line in the entire poem, and it's just incredible. The whole idea is that their love for each other is so huge, so complete, that it literally transforms one small ordinary room into everywhere, the entire universe. They don't need to go anywhere else because everything that matters, everything they could ever possibly want, is right there between them.
So, what's this new world of theirs actually like? Well, for starters, it's perfect. Their globes, they're just each other's eyes. Their maps, they can see everything they need to in each other's faces. And get this, unlike the real world, their world has no sharp north, which means no coldness, no conflict. And it has no declining west, which means no sunsets, no endings, and maybe, just maybe, no death.
Okay, now Donne's about to make a really clever argument for why their love is eternal. He reaches back to this old scientific idea, part of philosophy back then, which basically said that things in our world eventually fall apart and die, because their basic ingredients, their elements, aren't perfectly mixed. There's always some kind of imbalance. And here's the brilliant payoff. He argues that, unlike everything else in the physical world, his love and her love are so perfectly matched, so identical, that there is no imbalance. They've become one single, perfectly mixed thing. And because of that perfect balance, their love can't get weaker. It can't fade. In fact, it can't die. It is literally immortal. So we've just walked through this incredible journey of a poem. But let's ask the big question.
Why are we still talking about it 400 years later? What makes it so special? Let's break down what made this poem so absolutely radical for its time, and why it's still so important today. It really comes down to 3 game-changing ideas. First, love isn't just a feeling. It's a full-on spiritual awakening, almost like a religious conversion. Second, this love creates a world that is totally self-sufficient, needing absolutely nothing from the outside. And third, and this was the most shocking one, the idea that this love is a sacred, holy act.
Now, to really appreciate how new this was, you got to understand what other love poetry was like back then. Most of it was all about unrequited love, pining for someone you can't have, all that suffering and longing. Donne comes along and just flips the script entirely. He writes about a love that's mutual, that's happening right now, and that's incredibly powerful. He's celebrating being together, not being apart.
And this was his most daring move, without a doubt. We're talking about a time when the church was the ultimate authority on everything moral. And Donne had the nerve to say that romantic love between 2 people was a kind of religious practice. He's literally saying that the love between them could be just as holy, just as sacred as a monk's devotion to God. I mean, that was a direct challenge to the entire system. So, this amazing idea of one little room becoming the entire world actually has a name in philosophy. It's called the microcosm and the macrocosm. It's the belief that a small representative part, the microcosm, can perfectly reflect the whole universe, the macrocosm. And for Donne, the love shared between 2 people isn't just some small personal feeling. No, it's a perfect microcosm. It contains all the beauty, all the wonder, and all the meaning of the entire universe packed into one relationship. And so, that brings us right back to the beginning. What Donne does in this poem is just incredible. He takes this deeply personal, intimate moment between 2 people and blows it up into a huge philosophical statement about reality itself. It really makes you stop and think about what truly matters and where your own reality is actually built. So the poem leaves us with a question, and it's a question for you too. Where is your world?